Hello everyone, this is Time to Talk Mental Health podcast. Again, it's me, Faya Hune. Vanessa's off, I'm afraid, looking after the kiddies. And today we have Adil from Alchemy Arts, which is an absolute honour, and I'm so grateful you actually replied. But thank you very much. And I just want to know everything that you do and how we can get involved and stuff like that. So yeah, go for it.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the podcast, really. I'm excited about the initiative. When I first heard about the support for mental health and well-being, I just thought, yeah, it's definitely something that we want to be involved in. So what do you want to know? I mean, where do you want me to start?
Well, where did Alchemy Arts come from? Were you the creator? How did you create it? Like, give us some background of what Alchemy Arts is and to do with the name, because I feel like there's something to do with the word alchemy as well. I've got to feel like there's something there.
Yeah. I mean, so I basically worked as an actor in film, television and theatre for about 15 years. And I was quite successful at a really early age, straight out of university, got thrown into like political dramas, issue-based dramas like Bradford Riots, Brits, and then a film called Four Lions, which was like it was a very controversial comedy, so to speak, and so it kind of ended up getting some like a cult following because of the topic, and it was a director called Chris Morris, who's an amazing director, an amazing comedian, really. So I thought it was really important to be part of that, and then I just kind of felt a little bit like I had a bit of burnout. I mean, I was dipping in and out of film and then going into theatre, which I really enjoyed. And then I kind of, I was doing 2 shows a day in theatre, and I just felt really like I was burning out. So I ended up going to Europe for a few years doing street theatre. I was broke as anything. I had no money, but I had a time of my life traveling through Spain, Slovenia, Germany. And it was, unbelievable experience. And during that time, I kind of just thought it's so important for me to kind of have a say in where I want my career to go, and not just kind of get involved in political dramas and films of other people's opinions. Like, so I get called for terrorist number 1 or suicide bomber number 3 or whatever. And I just really wanted to have a bit more, give a little bit more about our life, our narrative, our stories, and be in charge of that. So I kind of started to think about developing an organization or developing something, a platform that I could actually have a voice in. So I wanted to set up something to do drama workshops to help kids from underprivileged backgrounds, disadvantaged backgrounds, and to use drama as a tool to kind of engage them, because I found drama a great tool to kind of allow me to escape where I was from. So that was the initial idea. So then I started thinking about a name, and alchemy instantly appealed to me. I remember I was in Europe. I think I was on my way from Alicante to Almeria. So I had to get from Alicante to Murcia, get a bus from Murcia to Almeria. It was quite a long journey. I remember reading a book at the time, and I was reading 2 books simultaneously. You know, like you start reading something and then you get bored and you think, I'll just pick up on that. And I was reading a book by Paulo Coelho called The Alchemist.
Yes.
So I was reading that book, and I just found the story fascinating, and I just thought, wow, what a beautiful story. And at the same time, I was given a present by a friend of mine of selected poems by Rumi, who is a kind of 8th century kind of poet, a Muslim poet and a jurist and a mystic. And I was reading that book, and through the book, I came across a poem that said, that was called "In Baghdad, Dreaming of Cairo, in Cairo, Dreaming of Baghdad." And it's about a young man who goes out looking for treasure and then ends up finding this treasure back home where it was, in a beautiful poem. And I just thought, I remember holding these 2 books in my hand and then thinking, one is about 800 years old and one is, just, a couple of years old, and it's won the best prize and things like this. Yet it's the same story, but the writer hasn't kind of acknowledged anything to do with the source of where it's come from, because the stories were so alike that it's not a coincidence. So I started to think about the idea of reclaiming our narrative. And when I say our, I mean people from the South Asian community, from the Muslim heritage, from the Pakistani community. And I just thought it's really important that we are in charge of our stories, and we have some say in that. So I thought about alchemy as a word, and I thought, yeah, it kind of fits into exactly what I want to say. One, the fact that what I'm trying to do with drama is trying to take someone from one place to another, like a journey. An alchemist, the traditional alchemists, what they used to do was they used to kind of, in mysticism, would take base metals like copper and lead and transfer them into noble metals like silver and gold. And I just thought, as a social alchemist, this is exactly what I want to do. We kind of take the best of an individual, and then take them to the best that they can be. And that can be anything that they want to be. They might not be to the ultimate professional level of, an artist or an actor or performer, but it'll be the best that they can be. And I just, that idea really stuck with me, and it really appealed to me. So I just went about setting up the organization, and that's how it started.
That's incredible. And I absolutely love the idea of how you said that, mixing the metals. So basically you're making someone go from their good self, but you're going to make them 10 times better but they're better. And like you said, it doesn't need to be, I just think that's amazing, because I always think people think that drama, art, the creative stuff, people just think it's arty-farty, you're not really going to do anything out of it. But okay, you might not become Vincent van Gogh, but you will make a beautiful art, and you can be an actor, but not be an actor. You don't have to be in TV to be an actor or on a TV screen. You can use the acting skills in your day job. I told you that I'm in sales. You can do acting with sales. You can do acting if you want to be a nurse. You know what I mean? You can, or do any art skills. I don't think you have to just be that sort of thing. I think that's beautiful and really just amazing concept. I think that's amazing. So what happened then? So you came up with the idea, and then this happened. Then tell us what happened after then.
So then I just literally kind of went about, had no business experience, no idea about anything. The only thing that I had was my background in the arts and performing and improvising. So I basically improvised. I kind of just looked at any obstacle in terms of business, what came up, and then I saw it, and then we went through with it. The obstacles that did come up were setting up the organization, doing all the policies and procedures, getting all the safeguarding stuff sorted out, because I wanted to set up by doing workshops with young people initially. We got all that sorted out. We got ourselves, in a position to get funding because we were a social enterprise. And then I just kind of went about setting up creative projects. And I remember, this is really important about mental health, really. And I wanted to kind of bring it back to that. And the reason why I felt it was so important for me, when between the time I was a professional actor, as a freelance actor, and I was setting up the business, I was in limbo because I'd never signed on before in my life. I'd always been self-employed, always been quite successful as an actor. So I just thought, you know what, this is all right, but I needed to take a break. So I wasn't working. And that was the first time I signed on. So when I signed on, it had a massive effect on my kind of confidence. So as an actor, no one kind of expects you as an actor, someone who's always confident and it's always kind of boisterous and, bubbly, to have issues with confidence, but I did. And what I found there was, and I remember only signing on for 3 months. And in that 3 months, I must have wrote about 5 complaint letters, because the experience that I had going to the job centre was just so negative, so degrading, so disheartening, that I just thought, you know what, I'm trying to set up a company. And I wanted a bit of support from the job centre, and there was a scheme going on. And the only reason that I signed on was because I was told if I sign on, I'll be eligible for this business support grant. and you'll get that grant, and then you can set up your business. So I set up that, and I said to him, look, I've got no intention of going here, there, and everywhere for jobs that I'm overqualified for. I've got no interest in. It's nothing to do with my passion or my love. And they just said, no, you can't do this. You're only signing on because you want to be eligible for this grant. And I said, well, yeah, bingo, that's exactly what I'm signing on for. Long story short, I kind of just put in those complete letters, and I just kind of signed off. I signed off, and I just said, I'd rather be broke than be in a situation where my confidence, my self-esteem, my mental health was taking a battering. And I really felt at my lowest point when I didn't want to meet people. I was ashamed to go to the job centre to kind of sign on because I thought someone might meet me there, especially after I'd been so successful in television and film and acting. It was just a massive slap in the face, a knock on my ego. Loads of things were going on. So I just I said, I don't want anything to do with that anymore. But I promised myself at that time, I said, when I set up the business, one of the first projects that I'm going to set up is called the Get Back to Work program, because I realized the issue around mental health for people who are proud, really kind of successful, they just want to step up the ladder. So thank God what happened was a few months after that, I kind of wrote an application, wrote a bid, and we were successful. And the project was called the Get Back to Work program.
Yes.
And it was dedicated to everyone who was going through that limbo of job centre and confidence, self-esteem. And luckily, and this is why I feel as though everything I've done so far in my life has been blessed, because I ended up looking for office space. And I had no contacts or no money to get office space. And I started a hot desk at a place called Blue Sky, which is a mental health and well-being space in Old Trafford. And I was given free space to just literally wander around there and speak to people whenever I wanted to, and support basically anything that they're doing. So I did that for a little while, and I got to meet some amazing people. And I ended up doing workshops, the Get Back to Work program, started to do it there. And so everything kind of fell into place in that moment for me to start something. And I remember it clearly, and this is really important, Fire, that I share this with you, and hopefully the viewers as well will be able to resonate with this. The day that we were funded, the day after we were funded, and I knew the project was going to go live and we were doing all that, I remember consciously waking up in the morning and feeling completely different. There was a distinct difference in waking up. And this is what I want people to take away from this kind of podcast, really, is that you will feel the difference when you wake up and you're doing something that you love to do every day of your life. It's not work, it's your life. And I remember thinking, is this what's going to happen for the rest of my life now? I'm actually doing what I love to do. And then on one side, you have like all this ambition, people saying you should go to LA and pilot season and do films and do theatre and do all this kind of stuff. And I was like, that's not what I enjoy doing. This is what I enjoy doing, helping people, supporting people, doing projects that I love, still making films and doing theatre and teaching, but actually be conscious of my own health and well-being. And my own mental state was massive. And I woke up, and from that day on, I've just every day's been unbelievable. We have ups and downs because of the work that we do, but never a day do I feel as though I'm doing work. Never.
Oh God, that is an absolute dream. That's giving me hope as well, because me and it's weird to say it, but we're like partners in a business, because I'm doing my own production company, trying to set it up, and we are really, really struggling to even get anywhere and stuff. And we're trying to go what the book says. And you've just made my day, completely off topic of Time to Talk, but that's just brilliant. And I also I'm so glad you mentioned the job centre. I know it's nothing to do with Alchemy, but it's the journey of getting there. And I've had so many friends who are artists, actors, they've had to do that, and they've been so ashamed that they've actually not done it. They just suffer in silence, and it's because it's got such a bad rep. It really has. And I want to put it out there that if people need to do that to get where they want to be, then do it. Don't feel ashamed. However, I think it's amazing that you put complaints in, because I don't think anyone should be treated like that. And I think if I don't think you should be pushed into doing anything you didn't want to do, because you're not there because you want to be there. You're there because you have to be there. Do you know what I mean? But I think it's amazing that you touched on that. But yeah, so how has everything kind of, arts has been absolutely attacked by COVID. Like, it's been ignored. Everyone seems to have just gone, oh, it's not that important, even though half the people are watching Netflix and are reading books now and are now getting more creative than ever. But how has Alchemy been through that time?
Yeah, so I think at the start, I mean, I remember when COVID first kicked in, I was literally, I was feeling overwhelmed with all the projects. I mean, after the initial success, we became really successful really fast with arts and health and well-being, getting pulled in different directions. I felt, in terms of the evaluations and the monitoring side of the projects that I had to do, I felt a bit overwhelmed a little bit. So COVID came at a really perfect time in terms of just slowing everything down. And our supporters and our funders just allowed me the time to just say, Adil, just chill, reflect, relaxed, come back re-energized. And I remember for the first 2 or 3 months, it was really good just to not have the deadline, say, oh no, another email, I need to reply. And then I just kind of re-evaluated the outcomes that we wanted to deliver, and have started to deliver stuff online. So we created podcasts similar to what we're doing right now. We created a project called Colours of COVID, which is basically around using how we would engage with people about how they've used the arts to support their mental health during this time, how they've been creative. We'll share the details after this, hopefully, and then you can share it with everyone.
Oh my gosh, 100%. If you want to talk about it, you go for it. I'm all ears, and I'm sure the viewers are as well.
Yeah, so I kind of realized that during COVID, people had a lot more free time, and a lot of people who were kind of amateur or, kind of had a hobby of doing piano or guitar or things like that, started to pick up these hobbies again, painting and writing and everything like this. And I realized that they didn't have a platform to kind of express themselves. But as you were walking, you probably remember this, Fire, when lockdown first happened, as you were going for our kind of walks, you'd look through the window and there'd be support for the NHS, and there'd be a rainbow in the windows of
yes.
people. And so what I found was that people were doing art and being creative, but they weren't having a digital platform to express themselves. So we set up Colours of COVID. I mean, initially it was targeted towards the BAME community, for the Black minority ethnic community, but we've been overwhelmed by just so many people coming forward and sharing their poems, sharing their stories, sharing their journey. But what we did was, in terms of all our projects during lockdown, was we just kind of just changed the dynamics slightly. I created a project called Tech Eagles just before lockdown, and Tech Eagles is basically a project that engages the elderly over 65 Pakistani community on how to use smartphones. Very basic technology, like how to send a message, how to set up Facebook, how to do a WhatsApp call, keep in touch with their relatives and friends. Very basic, because I didn't want to do a computer course where it was overwhelmed. It was just very basic about the smartphones that they had. So just before lockdown, we had a community that was suddenly connected online, so we could still communicate with them, hear their voice messages, communicate with them, and they could stay in touch with their community groups and their friends. So we just thought, this is amazing. Let's continue this by doing podcasts. And then I got approached by Salford CCG, which is the Clinical Commissioning Group, saying, look, we want to get the COVID messages out there. So we did something called Salford Tech Eagles. And, hopefully you can share a link where we created 55 videos in 11 different languages. And all of those videos are literally short snippets of what COVID is, how to stay safe, what to be aware of. Loads of really kind of nice little snippets in community languages that you could share via WhatsApp, and people were more informed. And now we're going into doing vaccine messages around the thing around making films around that. So we just kind of adapted, and this is the beauty of acting, really, and performing and artists. We are not an homogenous group. All of us have a lot of things in common, but we are unique in a lot of ways. But one thing that we do have in common is that we're a very resilient bunch. Artists are resilient. And we basically, we got knocked down, we get back up again, and we survive. And I think those skills, especially when it comes to mental health, are really good things for us to acknowledge and understand. So just be conscious of that.
You made me have goosebumps then. We are, and the community of us, of artists, is crazy. It's beautiful. I think it really is. And that tech idea is something that people won't think of, but everyone's alone, and you've got a lot of elderly people that are just on their own, and you are now giving them the gift that they would have never had before. And not saying COVID's good, because it's not. COVID has brought so much sadness. But when you've got little things like this, like no one would have thought about doing this tech eagle idea until something like this, when it's taken away from you. So that's amazing. How did you find, because you've obviously still been busy, so you kind of had that nice little break and then you were busy, but how have you found that you and your colleagues have been with their mental health, being actors and everything? Because obviously you're not allowed to go out there and spread the love for your acting, and it's all online. Have you all adapted okay, or have you got any hints and tips of how you tell people to deal with stuff as well? Obviously, there's no right or wrong, but
yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that I consciously decided was not to beat myself up too much about work, and finding that balance between life and work. And it comes in that order, I think, life and then work. And what I've done is, I mean, I'm a father to a 2-year-old boy now, and when COVID happened, he was only a little thing, so it kind of distracted me in a nice way. So I just kind of put things into perspective, where I just thought, you know what, I don't want to take the work home with me. So I try to give myself certain times. I mean, we're probably more busy now than ever before. It sounds crazy, but we're busier now than ever before. Just because of the digital side of it, the kind of podcasts, the kind of videos that we're doing, all that kind of stuff. But I think just be conscious. What I said to my kind of team is that I've got a freelance team of creatives, and I've just said to them, just be conscious of your feelings, and this is a message to everyone really as well, that conscious of your feelings. And it sounds a bit kind of really arty and thingy, but there's a poem by Rumi, and he talks about being conscious of your feelings as if they are guests that are coming into your life, and they'll come into your life and then they'll drift away, and just be conscious of them as well. Let them sit, and not to take things on too seriously, where you take anything, oh no, there's no escape route, I can't get out of this. Just take your time and reflect. And when you take your time to breathe, relax, walk, you kind of realize that there is light at the end of the tunnel. There is another way there is an answer to your problems. It's just not going to be in that immediate place where you think, oh no, I need to escape route, whatever. Give yourself time to just acknowledge what those feelings are, what's happening, and know that you'll work yourself out of it, because you are going to have that feeling that I had when you wake up in the morning and you think, wow, this is unbelievable. And that's a positive, that we should all kind of aspire to. I'm not saying that's the only way. People have, different people have their faith, people have, their hobbies. But I just would say, just be conscious of those things. And I've literally said to my team is that we have deadlines, we have loose deadlines for certain stuff, but anything that they need support with, just communicate that, because communication is the most important thing. We have a lot of people talking around mental health, a lot of celebrities talking about it now, but the biggest thing that they're doing is communicating that those feelings. And I think people in general, and especially men, I would say, find it really difficult to talk about their feelings and emotions. Just communicate that whatever way that you can. And for other people, just be conscious of that communication as well.
No, I completely agree with everything. I think it's always good to hear from different people, and as a professional yourself who is doing it, it sounds like you've done everything really. You've gone from here, there, everywhere, and it's amazing. I don't want to take too much of your time up, but I've got 3 more questions. Is that okay?
Yeah, go for it. I'll be quicker with the answers.
No. I just don't want to take too much of your time. I was like, oh no, I saw the time. I was like, I've taken so much time up, but I could talk to you all day, to be honest. But I feel like I've touched on COVID. And you've been on about ethnicities, and I want to know how you handled as a company Black Lives Matter, if you had any creativity around that, and if you have any advice for people handling the situation themselves at the moment. So that was not the 3 questions though, that was a million questions in one. Sorry. I still got 2 more.
Good. So where do you want me to start? Shall I start with the Black Lives Matter? I suppose what's happened is that we as an organisation, I was really conscious not to jump on the bandwagon of certain campaigns that are happening. I'm from a community that is that has massive health inequalities, that has you know, I'm from an underprivileged background, working class background. So I always feel as though it's not just about Black Lives Matter. I've always been beating the drum about the underprivileged or people who are less fortunate or people who don't have a voice. So it wasn't, for us, it wasn't a kind of, okay, let's do it around Black Lives Matter. I get called a lot of the time to be on diversity panels and decision-making panels because we want to diversify our kind of very white middle-class kind of decision-making panel. And for us, it wasn't an overnight thing. We've been doing this. I've been doing this for the last 8 years. Longer than that, I've been doing this for the last 15, 20 years when I was campaigning around, you know, not being accused of being a suicide bomber just because I was a Muslim or I had a beard or had facial hair. So, do you know what I mean? So my idea was campaigning against oppression and being stereotyped and being pigeonholed for something. I've been kind of campaigning and being an activist for that for the last 15, 20 years. So it's quite, I've stayed away from any funding or any kind of projects that would say, you know, let's talk about, you know, Black History Month and can you do a project around that? I don't want to do a, you know, Black History Month project. I want to do about, you know, our lives project. And I'll just to kind of finish on this point, for this particular project subject, I did a project 2 or 3 years ago called Forgotten Soldiers, and it was about the role of Muslim soldiers in World War I and II, because we felt as though that it wasn't being spoken about. And during the centenary of the First World War, we set up this heritage project about the role of Muslim soldiers in World War I and II, and we made a documentary about it, a children's book. We did an exhibition.
That's incredible.
But from the research, what we found was that there was loads of people from the Commonwealth, from Africa, that took part as well, that their stories are not being told. So I think now that people are kind of being conscious about stuff about, you know, in football matches, they're taking the knee, or they're conscious about the Black Lives Matter campaign, I think it's a societal issue. We need to start pulling people up on things that we might kind of, you know, think that are okay to kind of say, but they're not. And just for us to be more conscious of that as well in history, what sort of things that are happening, and I think so that for me was not being an activist after the Black Lives Matter thing. I've always been an activist.
No, do you know what? I've got so much stuff that I completely agree and want to talk about. I just know it's just not the right place or time. But once we can go out and have a drink, and I would love to talk about this because it's so mainly that when you said about the Muslims in the war and you just don't hear anything. I just like to make it clear that when you watch any film that's been created on the war, you never really see Muslim people in it, and it was almost like they didn't exist in the war when obviously they did. And it's ridiculous, and I'm gonna get angry now for you, but no.
Well, I just like to say it wasn't just Muslims, but all the minority communities that took part in the wars.
Yes,
they're not represented at all. You know,
no.
the massive Sikh community, the Indian community. You know, massively the Algerian Muslims. So many people.
That's what I mean. All of them. But it's like it's crazy. Like every single. It annoys me. But hey, I'm gonna have to change. I'm gonna have to change question now before I go in a rant with you. But so, what has been your favoritist? If that's a word. Your most favoritist. Your most favorite thing to do in the company, like your project. What's been your most favorite so far?
Ooh, all of them. I mean, I literally, every project that I do, this is the way I do it, and it's not probably the best way for business-wise, but I I always go for projects that I'm passionate about. So every project is a passionate project. I just think, you know, I mean, a lot of my projects are around mental health and well-being. I did stuff around dementia because my grandfather started to show very early signs of dementia. So I thought, you know what, I'll make a film about dementia. Muslim Soldiers, again, was my grandfather inspired story because he was a you know, a soldier in World War II. He fought in Burma with the British Army. Massive stories. I think the one that I'm probably the most passionate about, proud of, it's probably three really. One was the Tech Eagles, because I just think it allowed us to engage a community in a very simple way, but had a massive impact. That was one. I think the second project would be the Forgotten Soldiers, because I just think it was, again, a passion project, and it was something that personally I dedicated that to my grandfather because he's the one who inspired it, and I got to show him the DVD and the film and everything, which you can see on our YouTube channel. I showed him that before he passed away just a couple of years ago, which was just very emotional. And I think now the project that I'm doing, which is In Search of Rumi, which is basically a project around raising awareness of this beautiful poet who's been hijacked by the Western world as this just love, you know, poet, when actually he's so much more than that. And it's you know, I'm reclaiming the narrative. So for me, yeah, those three projects I'm kind of the most passionate about.
Oh gosh, if no one goes and checks out these, because I certainly am, then they're a bit silly. So my final one is, can we be excited to see from Alchemy? If you're allowed to say it, I don't know if you can.
Yeah. I mean, I think what I'm excited about now, we're filming a documentary of In Search of Rumi at the moment. We did have plans to go to Konya in Turkey to film parts. Yeah, I know, but COVID's kind of put a bit of damper on that. Hopefully, if we can still go, I'm going to try to go out there probably in a few months' time. So I'm excited about that. But the whole project, I'm writing a children's book at the moment around Rumi. So basically just introducing this poet to the younger community as well, so they can understand who he was and what he was about. So yeah, those are two things, but also around, I think, the messages that we need to get out there for the Black and minority ethnic communities around the importance of the vaccine. There's a lot of hesitancy around the vaccine. There's a lot of misinformation that's going around with WhatsApp. There's a lot of false information that's going around. So we're just trying to counter that by just giving people some facts so they can make some informed choices. So we do some films, short films around that with local people in the community. But I would say, yeah, just look out for the Rumi project. I'm really excited about that. So look out for that.
Oh, that sounds incredible. Oh, I'm so excited for all of this. Well, thank you last question. This is actually a question for you to just tell everyone there. How can people reach you and find out about everything that Alchemy does? It's like all the ways that we can connect with you.
Yeah, I mean, you can check us out. The best way to probably get us is through the website, which is alchemyarts.co.uk. You can go to us on our Facebook, which is Alchemy Arts Limited. Bear with me 1 second, because I just think we've got someone in doing the cleaning. Can you hear that, or is it not coming through?
It's not coming through, but don't worry.
Okay, cool. We've just got someone coming to the office and just started to do the cleaning. So
no,
if it
that's
comes
fine.
through, apologies. So yeah, what I was saying was that you can get in touch with us by going onto our website, which is www.alchemyarts.co.uk. On our Facebook, Alchemy Arts Limited. You can check us out on our Instagram or our Twitter as well, and just see what's going on. We also have a YouTube channel, so check us out on that. There's some really amazing content on there. Just check us out on there. I just want to say something before I go, which is really important.
Go for it. Yes.
For me, one of the most inspiring things that I had in my life was going into the arts, and the arts allowed me the social mobility to go out and kind of live my dreams, but also experience things that I never thought I'd experience. I'm from Old Trafford, a very working class area, working class background, and I got to, through my acting, through my arts, I got to go to the Cotswolds and live in a very white middle class area, meet people that I never thought I'd ever meet before. It had a massive impact on my life. And so for me, it was really important that something that helped me, challenge my mental health and my well-being was the social mobility I was given by engaging in the arts. So if you have a passion or a desire to go into the arts, please go into it. It will help you in the long run.
And it certainly will, because I'm going to keep on talking. I might stop by it. But no, I disagree, because I'm from Stoke-on-Trent, and there's no one famous from Stoke-on-Trent apart from Slash. Bill was only there for like 3 months of his life. So it's what it is. Like, just if anyone has a passion, go for it. Even if it doesn't have to be art, so if you want to go into bloody cybersecurity or you want to go into clothes designing, just do it. Don't let anyone stop you. I honestly believe that, because you don't want to live someone else's life.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, I when I stopped looking for acknowledgement from the industry or people like that, I started to do what I'm passionate about, and I would continue to do this even if it wasn't, going to make you famous or you get massively paid for, because people know you don't get into the arts to become rich. You do it because you're passionate about it.
Exactly.
I just say that.
Oh, but thank you so much, Adil. I mean, I could talk to you forever. Let's do podcast point 2. But thank you so much for your time, and I will have all the links connected to this, so I'll have it all sorted for you. But thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening, and